everything in its best intentions and best plans sometimes still has some kinks. So wishing you all lots of joy tonight and celebration. Rosemary and I are so grateful that you could join us this evening. I know some of you have been fluttering the chat tonight, letting us know where you're tuning in from and how the weather is. We're here on unceded Abenaki territory on the edge of Lake Champlain in Vermont. You probably can't hear it, but we can hear the wind, the blustery wind behind us tonight. It's been very, very cold and
it's snowy,
very wintry for our time together. So just want to take a moment to invite us all to arrive. Wherever you are seated in a chair, on the floor, cozy on your couch, curled up with a cup of tea, I invite you to just take a moment to connect with your body and connect with your breath. Just take a few cycles of in-breath and out-breath, breathing in through your nose, breathing out through your mouth. Noticing how the air feels as it enters your nose, noticing how your lips feel as the air exits your mouth. I invite you just to notice how that connection of breath feels in your body, connecting your body to your mind, connecting your mind to your heart, connecting your heart to your spirit. And in this moment, on this darkest night, I invite you to go deep within to the core of your being and just check in with yourself. Give yourself gratitude. Gratitude for showing up, for giving yourself permission to pause, to pull away from the hectic holiday hustle, to slow down, to be still. As you take a breath in, I invite you to give thanks to your benevolent ancestors, both of blood and of bone, who have gathered together on these long, dark nights before. Give thanks to the generations ahead, who too will gather under the same sky, looking up at these same stars and celebrating these cycles of the seasons. Give thanks to our families, our partners, our friends who shared this link, who made it possible for us to be here tonight. And maybe take a moment on your next in-breath and hold your hand to your heart, giving thanks to yourself for creating this time and this space. In your next breath in, I invite you to roll your wrists or your ankles, maybe bring your chin down towards your chest. Let your head hang heavy, rocking gently from side to side. Noticing any tension. Taking a big deep breath in, maybe reaching out or upward. Just invite you to move and flow in whatever way feels good to you. Thank you all so much for being with us tonight. I'm gonna just come over here real quick. My name is Emily Ruff. I'm so excited to be here with you. So grateful that you've taken the time to be with us tonight. Thank you for yeah, just honoring the evening as we gather on this very dark night and celebrate. Um, I'm looking forward to just offering from our heart different practices and teachings that have been meaningful for us, and hope that they are meaningful for you as well. I'm here joined by my dear friends Deb and Shay and Linda, who are supporting us in the chat and also helping us get the waiting room folks aligned. So thank you all so much for being present tonight. We wanted to open with a song. The song is called The Solstice Carol. It's by the Word Sisters. And we want to offer this. Shay's going to pull up the lyrics for us if you'd like to sing along. We want to offer this just as a blessing of gratitude for all of you.
We want to invite you all to sing along, like whatever our voices are, so that even though we may not hear each other, we'll feel each other. And it's also a way of really making the circle whole, because even though we can't see one another, I can absolutely feel the energy of all of us, you know. And I also want to take this moment to really welcome you, my friends and family of the heart, you know. My ancestors too are all here with us, and I can actually hear them banging out, dancing with the wind. So yeah, song is such a way of celebrating and bringing us together. So yeah, and this is a beautiful song. Will they have access to the words afterwards?
Yeah, and we'll send out the words and also some of the music so you can sing it another time as well. So this is called the Solstice Carol, and this is by the Word Sisters. A fire is burning, the long night draws near. All who need comfort are welcome by here. We'll dance neath the stars and toast the past year, for the spirit of solstice is still living here. We'll count all our blessings while the mother lays down with the snow as her blanket, covering the ground. Thanks to the mother for the life that she brings, will waken to warm us again in the spring. The poor and the hungry, the sick and the lost, these are our children, no matter the cost. Come by the fire, the harvest to share, for the spirit of solstice is still living here. A fire is burning, the long night draws near. All who need comfort are welcome by here. We'll dance neath the stars and toast the past year, for the spirit of solstice is still living here. The spirit of solstice is still living here. And so it is. And so it is, and so it will be, just as it was. So, as many of you know, the word solstice translates loosely into the sun stands still. And it was at 4:21 this morning where the sun met its astronomical precise solstice. And in the northern hemisphere, that means that the sun is tilted the furthest away from the sun. In the southern hemisphere, if you're tuning in from there, then you're experiencing summer solstice tonight and not winter solstice. And so astronomically, this is a time of a peak. We're reaching an apex, right? We're in the longest night. And conversely, that means that every day henceforth, we're going to be seeing the days growing minutes by minutes by minutes. Astrologically speaking, winter is a time of completion and of release. Just as the external light is ceasing, our internal light is growing as we go within, as we're able to fuel ourselves a little bit more internally. This day is marked on the zodiac by the sun going into Capricorn, a sign which historically in medical astrology is considered to rule the knees, which gives us groundedness and also gives us flexibility. And that grounded, flexible energy makes a perfect combination in medicine for deciding what we want to say no to and what we want to say yes to and what we want to change in the coming season. There are cultures, as Rosemary and I spoke of earlier today, all across the world that celebrate this night. Tonight is Yalda in Iran or in Persia, celebrating the longest night and the birth of the sun with feasts and celebrations to honor that return of the light. Many of you are familiar with the Scandinavian traditions of Jule, where we get the word Yule, and the hearth, centering around the hearth, burning a bright fire for us to center and celebrate around.
Also
Yeah.
the whole Swedish ones where they light the fires on their head, right? They have all the candles and the wreaths with the
Yeah.
evergreens. It's so beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely. So people all over the world with different names and different cultures and different traditions are honoring the return of the light and celebrating the rebirth that's possible. And I think of winter solstice and what we think of as this darkest day as a time of incubation. Author Rebecca Solnit, who wrote the book Hope in the Dark, talked about the future and its potential darkness when there's uncertainty and fear and anxiety, not as a darkness of a grave, but as the darkness of a womb with all of the fertile potential that exists therein. And so we were talking earlier just about the potential that there is on this winter solstice and in this winter season to really incubate in darkness, to really think about what potential lies therein for creativity in that fertile ground. We live in this culture where there's this kind of concept of light and of dark that we tend to really lean into the light and have these qualitative connotations about darkness and shadows as if the two don't coexist quite necessarily and within us quite necessarily.
Well, I think we can only lean into the light when we nourish the dark.
Yeah.
Really, it's because it's in the darkness that so much gestates, like the womb, like you were saying. And also it's where our dreams gestate, you know, and where we rest and rejuvenate. So leaning into the light is a beautiful thing, but we have to nourish the shadows and the darkness and care for ourselves in those spaces to be able to lean into that light. And that's what this solstice, I think, really teaches us. It's beautiful.
Yeah, being able to just embrace what we can of the darkness, to really nourish that so that we can go forth in times of light with greater strength and greater resilience. And so winter is really a season of rest and of renewal. And we see that mirrored outside in the landscape. We see the way that the plants have gone within and they're saving all of their energy and their roots to blossom forth again in the spring. And I want to be careful as I speak to this because we certainly don't need rest just for blossoming forth in the light. Our divine right to rest is just that in and of itself, right? And so it's not that we have to do anything on the other side of rest. In our culture, we tend to see resting as sort of lazy or unproductive. And I really want to encourage all of us, myself included, to consider this winter season as a time where we can prioritize rest for the sake of rest and not because we have to do anything or prove anything on the other side of that.
We can take a really good lesson from our cats.
Yeah.
They just rest for rest's sake. And I've been noticing that as winter was deepening, the cats sleep more and more because they're in rhythm with the sun, right? And the darkness. And so they're just curled up happily sleeping. And then when they do wake up, they're so energized, right?
Yeah.
So, and we see that, of course, with the wild animals. So many of them are resting now, you know.
Yeah.
They go out maybe to scavenge and eat, but then they come back to their dens and
yeah, I think about the bear on the land at Sage Mountain who have curled into their nests to hibernate, and the skunks in their mode of torpid, which is sort of like a pseudo hibernation, right? They're just sort of sleeping a bit, but then they'll wake up periodically and then go back for a deep rest. And we all deserve some form or fashion of that. Of course, in our modern culture, I think it's really difficult for us to to find that rest, especially in a season where there's so many celebrations, and what joy we have to celebrate in this time. And I think what I have encouraged a lot of my beloveds and friends of this season is to find ways to kind of microdose rest if we can. So it doesn't mean we have to just cloister up in our winter cave, although that sounds very fun, I will admit. But finding ways we can honor sleeping in a little bit later, going to bed a little bit earlier, finding ways of rest that are maybe not our body, but our mind, like taking a fast from media or social media or all the other ways that we're so constantly stimulated. How can we bring rest into our practice this season to support us? So,
You know, one really simple way that comes up when you're saying that that we were doing when we first started was just closing your eyes when you can, you know, like at work or just sitting in the house, just for just 2 or 3 minutes. If you just peacefully close your eyes, just rest with your eyes closed, you know, it travels you deep inside. And yeah, simple things like that can be so helpful.
Absolutely.
And rest from noise. Like, even though music is so glorious and can lift our spirit so much, we have so much noise in our culture. So being able to just rest from even beautiful sounds sometimes is deeply recharging, actually.
Yeah. Allowing our mind as much rest as we are our body right now. The other sort of concept that I think about a lot with winter, and Rosemary and I talked about this earlier, is how can we in these dark days also find those sparks of light within ourselves and in the world around us, especially in times when both the cycle of the sun and also the cycle of our lives and of politics and of the world can feel dark and uncertain. And I spoke of the quote by Anne Frank, look how a single candle can both defy and define the darkness. Or the quote by St. Francis of Assisi, all the darkness of the world cannot extinguish the light of a single candle. Really, in times that feel fraught with darkness and uncertainty, and especially compounded by the dark days and the feelings of sadness or depression melancholy that can emerge from that, how can we anchor into those sparks of light, those single candles that exist within us, that exist in our relationships, that exist in our lives, and really lean into those candles and hold true to those and revisit those as anchor points through dark times to cultivate that sort of fertility of the womb in darkness. So just some considerations to think of as we are in the depths of this winter season. And of course, the reminder that the days are just going to get a little bit longer, minute by minute, as we rise to the sun tomorrow from here. Many of you know my father was an astronomy and a botany professor, and there's a few other highlights in the stars coming up in this first week of winter. Initially, we have the Ursid meteor shower that's actually peaking in the morning through Monday morning. So Sunday morning and Monday morning in the wee hours before sunrise. This is what's known as a minor meteor shower. So if some of you saw the Geminid meteors a few weeks ago, this shower is not known for giant fireballs across the sky. But if you live in a location, especially where there's less light pollution and it's darker, I invite you to take an adventure of bundling up in the wee hours of the morning, if it's not cloudy or snowy where you live, and step outside. The other cool astronomical event that's happening at the end of the month is what's known as the black moon. It's the second new moon in a month. So many of us have heard of a blue moon, which is when there's 2 full moons in a single month. And a black moon is when there's 2 new moons. And the new moon is coming on December 30th, just before the end of the year.
That's significant.
Many of us will be, gathering to celebrate the turn of the Gregorian calendar page. And so just a time, I think, between the winter solstice and the new moon to really incubate in this darkness our intentions and our dreams. As Rosemary reminded me, there are a number of cultures that see this moment of winter solstice with the sun returning as a type of new year. And certainly it's a new start to a cycle. So we have, winter solstice, the light returning, and then we have this quite auspicious second new moon in a month of December to sort of, bring us some of that. So
it's sometimes confusing. We were talking about this earlier, it's sometimes confusing when you really look into the literature or just even feel what's happening right now, because we're standing like in this apex, right? Where the winter is the longest, the dark is the longest. And at the same time, we're celebrating. So we're honoring the darkness and all that gestation that's happening. At the same time, like a minute later, we're honoring the return of the light. And really in reflection, that's how life is, like when it's the darkest cycle, like whether it's through winter or day and night cycles or our life cycles or political cycles, it's always that way. The darkest hour is right when the light returns. So it's very symbolic and very powerful.
Yeah. Rosemary, you had a winter solstice poem earlier that you were sharing. I wonder if you'd feel called to share that with us now.
It's one of those beautiful Mary Oliver poems. Hard to do a ceremony without Mary Oliver with us. So it's Snowy Night by Mary Oliver. Last night, an owl in the blue dark tossed an indeterminate number of carefully shaped sounds into the world, in which a quarter of a mile away I happened to be standing. I couldn't tell which one it was, the bard or the great horned ship of the air. It was that distant. But anyway, aren't there moments that are better than knowing something and sweeter? Snow was falling so much like stars filling the dark trees that one could easily imagine its reason for being was nothing more than prettiness. I suppose if this were someone else's story, they would have insisted on knowing whatever is knowable. They would have hurried over the fields to name it, the owl, I mean. But it's mine, this poem of the night, and I just stood there listening and holding out my hands to the soft glitter falling through the air. I love this world, but not for its answers. And I wish good luck to the owl, whatever its name. And I wish great welcome to the snow, whatever its severe and comfortless and beautiful meaning. Yeah.
I think about song, I think about poem, I think about flowers and beauty and candles when I think about winter solstice. And I wondered if we could maybe share some other traditions or practices that we might use in this dark night to honor the sun returning.
Well, there are a great number of traditions that are done around the world. Like you were mentioning a few, like the Yule, burning the Yule log is one. But I think being creative and just kind of thinking about what winter means for us and ways that we can honor that. For me, it's like feasting, making soups and hearty meals and sharing that with friends. It always brings warmth to our stomachs and to our hearts, and to fellowship and community. And also, I think also remembering the animals, both the wild and the tame, that, there are all kinds of ways that we can honor the creatures that are out there by making little seed balls and scattering seeds and putting our leftover bread. I'm not so, I know if you live in an area where you have raccoons and stuff, that could be a problem, but I think the animals really appreciate it when we interact like them, especially in the winter when we've taken over so much of their habitation and also so much of their food sources. So just really, making, like my husband was down making these wonderful peanut butter balls for the wild birds, because we live in such a northern climate and there's still a lot of native birds here. And then we see the little squirrels and, the people call them pesty animals, but we're the pesty animals, right? So I think just finding ways to honor the wild and the tamed creatures as well. Yeah, so that would be, and I was sharing with Emily earlier that there's these wonderful, funny ceremonies that people would do in different cultures to honor the animals. Like around solstice, they would dress up like animals and go out, and act like the wild creatures. I think part of that is bringing our own wild spirit out and also relating to that animal spirit that's innate in us, right? And then there was the wild boar one that I was telling you about. That was, they would honor the wild boar, and when the wild boar would come out of its den, its way of celebrating was to let off a big fart. So people would do these big farts, right? I know it's not very polite on the line, but I just think, of all the ways that people find to bring joy, celebration, ceremony, and, spiritual meaning into their lives. So yeah.
Yeah, one of our moon medicine students made some beautiful garlands with cranberry and oranges and, created kind of a tree in her yard with her kids. And so many of these practices you can, gather with the whole family to share them, which is really lovely. I also find as many nights as I can and around this sort of week of winter solstice, having just candlelight, just sort of
beautiful.
lighting candles and moving through the evening just with candlelight. It's a
Yeah.
real shift for so many of us not to flip on a switch and use electricity. And it really makes me feel connected to my ancestors and
Yeah.
also just brings, sort of
Right.
a gravity to the moment, really connecting, a real stillness and pause. And I think that's what Rosemary and I have talked a lot today just about the slowness and the stillness and the pause that emerges in this season.
That's so true, honey. And of course, there's the fires, lighting the fires. I think that's probably a part of every solstice ceremony. And if you have the opportunity tonight or any of the solstice evenings to create a bonfire, and you can do it with a candle, you could definitely light your candles, but to stand out on a cold winter night around a fire and you can sing, you can chant, but you can talk, but it's also incredibly powerful to just be there in silence. And it's wonderful to offer those things that you think about them like things you don't want to carry forth into the new year. So you just kind of offer them. There's the tradition of writing it down on a piece of paper and offering, but you can just speak it aloud and offer it to the fire. Let the fire burn brightly with those things that we don't need anymore. So yeah, the bonfire. And then one thing that I've done for years and years is I've done these wonderful vision boards, call them treasure maps, where and Emily and I we've been doing these for years, but this is the one that I did last year, and it's just allowing my creative self to find those images that really mark, like they're like a trail or a path for the year for me. And I keep this somewhere near my bed, actually, where I can see it every day. So it's a reminder of me of what I'm kind of goaling. It's a way of setting intent, and it's a way of doing it in a delightfully fun way. You can do it with your family. In fact, we used to do it with all the family, my girls and Jennifer and Melanie used to come, Jason and Andrew, and we would just do this. And it's a really delightful, fun project to do, but it's something that has such deep intention as well. So yeah, that's another thing that I would really recommend if you don't do. And doing it on the solstice is beautiful because it is the old marking of the new year. We've moved it down to the calendar of January 1st, but this really was the marking of the new year for most of our ancestors. So yeah.
Yeah, those are beautiful. I love taking those collages, which are really works of art, and like you said, keeping them close and reminding yourself of them, remembering them throughout the year, so you can really connect back to this moment of stillness and pause, which really I feel like imbues such clarity when we can be silent, like you said, and not have the stimulation and the sound, and just really kind of go within. That allows that inner voice to be more clear. And really speak to us and to revisit that throughout other times of the year,
Yeah.
as a reminder when things get busier, when the garden is up and the sun is higher. It's really nice to be able to return to that. With that in mind, we wanted to offer a moment this evening for all of us just to kind of go within. And I invite you, if you have a pen and a piece of paper or a journal handy, to take a moment to gather that. If you have your tea, maybe take a moment just to sit and center. If you have a candle that you haven't lit yet, you might light it right now. Rosemary has a beautiful goddess candle here. If you have lit a candle, if you want to just kind of bring it into your space. And just want to offer an opportunity for us to reflect, as we've been talking about the potential, the fertility that we can incubate in this darkness, just to take a moment to practice that together. Before we jump in, I want to invite you, like we did when we started the night, just to settle into your seat, whether you're on the floor or the couch or in bed or sitting in a chair, just to kind of find a good center point, reground yourself, realign yourself. If your legs are crossed, maybe place your feet on the floor to feel that connection of the earth rooting you and supporting you in every step you take. Maybe take a moment to take a breath in and exhale, and just notice a few cycles of the natural rhythm of your breath, inhaling and exhaling, nothing forced, nothing architected, Just noticing the way that our breath can reconnect our mind with our body, and our body with our heart, and our heart with our spirit. A tool that is always available to us in any situation, in every moment. And as you continue to inhale and exhale, I invite you just intentionally to slow down a half second of the inhale. Let yourself fill your lungs just that little bit more deeply. And to slowly exhale just an extra half second. Just that slight, more full release. Notice how it feels in your body to take that intentional slowness, move a little bit more towards stillness. As you're connecting with your mind and your body and your heart and your spirit, we'll share some questions. I invite you to offer some reflections in writing in your journal, in your notebook, or maybe just let them sit on your heart. As we celebrate the return of the light, what do you celebrate from this past year? What has brought you joy? As we gather tonight in this longest night, I invite you to reflect on what challenges have you faced and what challenges have you overcome in this last year? As we sit in this moment of connection, in this season of joy, I invite you to reflect on what you are proud of from this past year. And maybe underline it and circle it and put a lot of exclamation marks around it. Let yourself celebrate what you're proud of. And in this moment of honoring, when we're surrounded with lots of ancestors of blood and of spirit in the room with us, connecting to the stars and connecting to ourselves, I also invite you to name what you're grieving from this year. Holding that with great tenderness. As we honor what we are grieving and what we're proud of, what challenges we faced and what's brought us joy. The final reflection I invite to you tonight is to really name with great intention ways that you can bring rest into this winter season. What ways can you, standing before yourself, fully of spirit in this moment, give yourself permission to rest? What opportunities are there, big and small, to practice rest in this season? I invite you to name those as a practice of commitment and intention as we reflect tonight. As we think about those things we've been reflecting on this evening, I invite you to take a slow, intentional inhale and a full releasing exhale. Just notice what you're feeling in your body, what emotions are surfacing and rising for you, with no judgment, with no need to fix or correct, just really being present with what your body and your heart and your spirit and mind are sharing with you in this moment. For Rosemary and I, this gathering tonight was really for ourselves, as well as sharing with all of you an opportunity to really embrace and celebrate and intend to stillness and the opportunity, the fertility that can come in this still, slow pause of winter. And as we were preparing in the last few weeks, we found a song that we both felt like really encaptured this concept of what it can be to be still. And Shay and Debbie are gonna offer the words to this song, give you an opportunity to sing along with us. Seems like our computers may not be practicing well, so if we can see it on the screen. How lovely. Thank you both. So this is a song by Karen Drucker, and again, we'll send in our follow-up email the words and the music. We'll sing this song three times through. The first verses we'll sing "There is peace." The second round we'll sing "I feel peace." And the third round we'll sing I am peace. And it is our prayer for all of you and for us that we can embody this peace in the stillness of winter to really be a medicine that we can draw from as we move into the season. In the stillness of this moment, there is peace. There is peace. In the stillness of this moment, there is peace. There is peace. And I rest and trust and breathe and know that in the stillness of this moment there is peace. Sing with us if you'd like. I feel peace. In the stillness of this moment, I feel peace. I feel peace. In the stillness of this moment, I feel peace. I feel peace. And I rest and trust and breathe and know that in the stillness of this moment I feel peace. In the stillness of this moment I am peace. I am peace. In the stillness of this moment I am peace. I am peace. And I rest and trust and breathe and know that in the stillness of this moment I am peace. In the stillness of this moment I am peace.
Such a beautiful song.
And so it is. Thank you, Rosemary.
Yeah, thank you.
So beautiful.
Yeah.
Songs, fire, feasts, and of course, poems. Rosemary has another poem. I think this one from Wendell Berry.
Yeah.
That is one that has always been dear to my heart in this season.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing it, Rosemary.
Yeah. Wendell Berry, who's like our spiritual poet farmer, right? And honor all the farmers in the world. So this is to know the dark. To go in the dark with a light is to know the light. To know the dark, go dark. Go without sight, and find that dark too blooms and sings, and is traveled by dark feet and dark wings. That's beautiful. I also wanted to just read that little short thing from Catherine May.
Please,
It's so beautiful from her Wintering. Plants and animals don't fight the winter. They don't pretend it's not happening and attempt to carry on living the same lives that they've lived in the summer. They prepare, they adapt, they perform extraordinary acts of metamorphosis to get them through. Winter is a time of withdrawing from the world, maximizing scant resources, carrying out acts of brutal efficiency, and vanishing from sight. But that's where the transformation occurs. Winter is not the death of the life cycle, but its crucible. Yeah. It's so beautiful. Another thing I wanted to share is that you can do these ceremonies alone and with your family, but it's so incredible to gather in circle. And it was one of the things when Emily and I were thinking it'd be so incredible just to gather us all together. And as we were just being here, especially when I had my eyes closed, I could feel the circle. I could feel the energy moving through us. I could feel our ancestors dancing with us, It's part of what makes us human is these gatherings, and part of what brings out the very best. And setting those intentions and then just knowing that there are hundreds of us setting those intentions together is so empowering. One of the things that I wanted to share, that when you write those intentions down, like you think them, you hold them in your heart, and then you write them down, you make them tangible, you make them physical and real. And it is nice to offer them to the fire because they become spirit, right? They go into the air and the ethers, or they become ash, go back to the earth. But I also like to write them down and then tuck them away for the year. I always like to keep like a little magic box. I used to do this with my students a lot. Actually, at the end of our apprentice programs, I would have them state their intentions, and then we would all witness them. We'd hear them, see them, and support them in their intention. And then I take all their intentions and I put them in little magic boxes. So like my little kitty box, and I have like little magical turtles in here, and I put the intention in there, and then just hold their intentions for the year. And then we would gather the following year, we would bring them out, and just that act empowered them. We don't even have to think of it much past then. It is good to think about it sometimes, but just holding those intentions and speaking them. And it's good to speak them. Like, if I wish that we could all be in person, we could speak them out loud to one another. But just having a family member or a friend witness, or a tree, go out and say your intention to a tree, and to a tree that you love, or a plant in the house. It's a way of empowering it. These simple ceremonies, or you can pray over it if prayer is your power. However it is that creates that extra energy for the intentions is a good thing. But right now we're all witnessing for one another, right? Even though we are not able to see one another, the energy is here for those intentions that we planted.
So we have two invitations for you. One, we want to invite you, encourage you to, whether it's tonight or in the morning as the sun rises, or maybe after you've scurried back in from watching the Ursid meteor showers with a cup of tea, or whenever you can find and create that moment of pause for yourself, to really think about those intentions and write them in your journal, write them on a beautiful piece of paper, tuck them somewhere that you can revisit them. And we also want to close our time together tonight by creating what we've heard called a waterfall. Our friend Susan Leopold introduced this to us. We want to invite you to think about, in this moment, a word or a phrase that's really speaking to your heart right now as an intention for your winter season, and to drop that in the chat. So go ahead, take a moment to think about what that is, and then drop that word in the chat. And really, that allows you to commit to that intention and to really spark that forth. I hear nourishment and courage and peace and wintering. Oh, I'm getting chills.
Where's love?
Love, breathe, wholeheartedness, stillness. These are beautiful. So keep dropping them in there. And this gives power to your intention by naming it. And we also get to support that by witnessing you. And these ripples are really sending out into the ethers and the fiber cables and all of the spiritual and physical ways, really drawing in this love and intention tonight. So I'm so grateful and really also feeling so nourished and feeling so much love that we've created together. So we are just deeply grateful for your time and your presence, whether you're watching this in the recording or spent the time to join us tonight live. Thanks to all of you who helped us as we blundered through things that we had practiced and rehearsed 17 times, and the digital spirits were still playing coyote tricks on us tonight. We're going to close again with a song, but we will send out in an email the songs that we sang tonight. We'll send out the poems that Rosemary shared. We'll also send out some ways that you can continue to learn and connect with the plants and the planets through Rosemary's classes and my classes. We certainly hope that this is not the only time that we get to share space in the sacred way with each of you. So we are both deeply indebted and grateful for the generous spirit that you've all shared with us tonight. Thank you again to Shay and Debbie and Linda for all of your support behind the scenes. We wanted to close tonight with a song that we know many of you know. It's a song called Sanctuary. If you know the words, please feel free to sing along. This is our prayer that we may connect with the earth in this deep winter season in this sacred way. Thank you all, everyone. Earth, prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true. With thanksgiving, I'll be a living sanctuary for you. Earth, make me a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true. With thanksgiving, I'll be a living sanctuary for you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh,
Thank
you
you,
to all of you.
Rosemary. Thanks to all of you. Wishing you cozy, warm, fuzzy feelings as we enter this long night and as we greet the return of the sun in the morning. I look forward to seeing you again next time. Many blessings, everyone. Happy solstice.
Oh, I couldn't resist telling the fart story. I'm so sorry. You tried to stop me, but I think it's good. I have to go a little renegade, right? I get permission to, it was okay, right?